The way to do it is through this process called grief work. Now, different therapists have different terms for this, but this seems to be the most prevalent one, grief work. And then in the next video, hopefully we'll get to that today, there's another process that is complementary to it, that is an integration of your parts, but I believe that is more complex than grief work. Grief work is a great way to begin, and it's a necessary step anyway. So grief work. Grief work is revisiting your lost childhood, or finding your lost childhood and visiting it. Because our compulsive reactions to shame are the result of unresolved grief. Unresolved grief. And that is what creates the old blocked feelings. Okay, so these are the old blocked feelings that are preventing our great creativity and power from coming out. Either we work these feelings out by re-experiencing them and processing them and resolving them, or we act them out in our compulsive reactions, which are largely out of our understanding and out of our control, etc. Like the average person, in other words. And then, because we don't know why we do it, we blame other people for it. Like, you are making me ADHD. That sort of reasoning. So the grief work is the feeling of the original pain, re-experiencing the original pain, but now as a mature adult. So one step to that's important to put in there is the appreciation for the various selves that split off. So don't hate on your false self. I've discovered that as I've been talking about false selves, more and more people are thinking that that's a disgusting thing in them, and they're further compounding the problem with more shame. Now they're ashamed that they're shamed. So let's not do that. The false self was a good thing. It protected you. It's called the coping strategy for a reason. It helped you cope. At that time, it helped you. It helped you get on in life. It helped you get approval and love and not get scolded and not get beaten and so on, right? It protected you somehow. And it's important to appreciate that about that self. That's a part of you. It's not a part we're just going to throw away either, because that's a part of you. But it's a part that you're going to appreciate and then say, hey, right now you need to rest because you've been working too hard and so on. And then we'll get to that in the integration of parts. But that's an important element of it. As you revisit your childhood, you don't just re-feel all the pain. That's probably the hardest part. But now you as an adult are able to bring in the mature perspective that it's going to be okay. And you bring to it all of the life that you've lived so far. And now you strengthen that little child. You help your inner child grow. One of the most damaging consequences of being shame-based is that we don't know how depressed or how angry we really are. And all the guys that I've ever worked with who have trouble with women, who are not one of the 3% or probably 1% of the guys who pick it up extra quick, right? But the vast majority of us who had to learn it externally, they're all having trouble with unresolved grief, keeping it together, keeping it in, keeping the depression in, the anger in, the sadness in. And they think that the problem is actually that they don't know the right thing to say to the girl, when instead it's just about their unresolved grief. Our false selves and ego defenses prevent us from experiencing the prime grief, the primordial grief, the original grief that we pushed under, that we suppressed and then repressed into our unconscious. However, you don't just go and feel it and then think you're done. You need support. You cannot grieve alone. You've already tried that and failed. So realize this, without therapeutic support, without the support of another person, and I try to do this in my recorded courses, so my recorded voice is your other support. Okay, so that's the best you can do in a recorded course. And I try to provide as much live element as I can as I scale myself in the recorded courses. But ultimately, you can't replace the feeling of having the support from another human being, because you tried to grieve alone when you were a child and it was too difficult, it was too painful. So you then split off. So unless you get support, by which I mean another human being holding the space for you, not your buddy at the bar, okay? And like, oh, I got a friend, she's my sister, she'll listen to my problems. I'm not talking about just listening to your fucking problems. I'm talking about somebody who holds a space while you fucking cry your fucking eyes out. And all of these manly men, I don't know how it came about, the rise of the manly man, the gun-toting, wood-chopping, hunt-your-own-food guy, which I think is totally cool in certain contexts. But one of the things he seems to take pride in is shoving his emotions below awareness and treating himself as if he were a Navy SEAL in battle, when in fact he's in a very modern city with Starbucks and Frappuccinos. And he doesn't need to kill anybody. No one's life is at stake per se. So instead of handling it alone, the process of this is actually to free it up, to liberate, to have the courage to feel those emotions of anger and sadness and all of it, and grief that will result through this process.